Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. In today's video, I'd like to give you more information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last QHHT hypnosis session. But before we move forward, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment because I'd like to know if the stuff resonates with you. And it definitely helps me put out more videos to know that I'm not just leaving this information into the ether and who knows where it's going. So I do love the interaction. Definitely stop by and say hi or anything that might be going through your mind as you watch these videos. I'm looking forward to reading your comments. All right, so when I speak, I'm going to read from the transcript. And when I say Carolyn, I'm referring to the hypnotist asking me the questions that I have prepared for her in advance. And when I say me, I'm referring to myself under hypnosis, which means that the information is coming from the 25th dimension. Right. Carolyn. Okay, you told us that Jesus was one of the watchers. You also showed Clea that she and 4 of her other teammates are watchers and have been watching through the ages, including deciding to take this game board down. How many watchers are there in total? And as a premise, I forgot to tell you, whenever I have taken out a lot of personal references in this transcript, as in all my previous downloads, because really it's irrelevant what I'm here to do. All of us have a function here. So nobody's more important than anybody else. We just have different jobs, okay? Just in 3D reality. The reason I left this in is because this was a curiosity to me because they have been saying to me that I'm one of the watchers. And so I wanted to learn more about watchers. And I read then somewhere that somebody was saying that Jesus was a watcher. So I wanted to figure out how this whole function of being a watcher works. And that's why I left this reference in. All right, so they're answering the question now, me. There have been a lot of watchers. The role of watcher gets passed around. It is not a role that we decide to take on forever. You can, and then, until you go back to the 25th, and then you come back with a different role. You can do whatever you want. So some of us, like Clea, have been doing it for a long time by human Earth standard years or so. I mean, we're talking about millennia, really. Wow, that's a way of making me feel old. All right, so there is a limited number. Obviously, not everybody wants to be a watcher or has the personality to be a watcher, and there are several. For this planet, there have been a few, and there are watchers everywhere. There are watchers everywhere in the universe to make sure that, again, we don't get to a point where the balance is so out of whack that you need to take something out. Clearly, it's working because we don't do this very often. This is only the 3rd time this has been attempted. The first time it's been attempted with actually people, going embodied, like consciously moving on. So they've told me before that this is only the 3rd time the multiverse that we're taking a game board down, meaning an entire planet is going to get dissolved and the people, the souls are moving somewhere else to a new planet. And 2 other times they did not move on embodied. We are going to go embodied, and most of us are going to be conscious of this change. The people going to 3D simulation chambers, the ones who want to believe in the game, they don't even want anything to come in to tell them that the government is not their friend, that kind of thing, that kind of complete lack of consciousness and awareness. That's obviously part of the game for them. So there is no judgment. These people are no less smart than we are. They're just playing a different game with different rules. And they're the only ones who are not going to remember this. But the rest of us are going to know exactly what's going on. Carolyn. So is there a number of how many have there been over time? Me. Of watchers? Carolyn, yes. Me. I'm getting 30. There are 30 watchers who have ever. Now, this is official watchers who have been given this as a role. You keep in mind, there have been a lot of people. There are a lot of people watching, but it's different to observe something, watch something, participate in something, and being a watcher. This is a role. This is a very specific role. Just like the light workers have very specific roles. So we can use the terminology properly, or we can generalize it. So there have been only 30 watchers on this planet total with this particular function. Carolyn, You taught us that we can switch sides at any time between the light and the dark team. You also told us that the reptilians are the dark team, which we learned more about that today. This would be my last video, or I think it was 2 videos ago I spoke about reptilians. Today, does it mean that many of us on the light team have been reptilians in previous incarnations? Me. Some, yeah, actually very few. So it seems to be that when we join a team, we're kind of not married, but we're kind of, Carolyn, partial? Me, we're kind of partial. We just like it. We continue because this is all one strategy. We continue generation after generation. So we don't want to just switch back and forth. It doesn't mean that we do not test a little bit of the dark while we're in a certain incarnation. And we will also be doing it for intel purposes. We go and see what's going on. But truly, in general, most will stick with one side of the team. Also, because you make friends, you make, we're all friends, but I'm saying you make alliances that you come back, you make agreements. Next time we come back this way, we try this other thing. So really, not many of us have switched. I am not switched. I've never been a reptilian. You haven't been a reptilian either. And I'm referring to Carolyn. Most people have not been reptilians. However, I do have a friend who happens to be another one of the 12,000, so another light worker, and she actually remembers that she's been a reptilian. So again, we can try different things, and sometimes we do it for intel purposes, meaning we want to understand something. So again, there's no judgment there. Carolyn, I believe I've always been a healer. Have we all been SATANIC? I don't say this word because YouTube doesn't like the truth. And therefore they kind of censor these things. So again, the word is, Carolyn is asking, have we all been SATANIC and a victim of SATANIC ritual abuse in previous lives? Me. So most of us have tried different things in the matrix, even on other planets, but specifically on this planet. And so we have dallied in the dark as well. However, no, the answer, the precise answer is not all of us have tried all these different things. So just because we've been here maybe for 1,000 incarnations or whatever it has been, doesn't mean we tried every single thing, every single idea that's available on this planet. You don't have to do that to have fun. Carolyn, thank you. Me. It is not, it's an idea. So you don't have to try anything unless you want to. Just because it's available doesn't mean you have to avail yourself of it. Carolyn, just because we see the clothing in the window, we don't have to buy it. Me, that is correct. And some of us have not wanted to try these things because it is our role, perhaps, to quote unquote, fight these things. So counteract these things. So one thing is sending somebody to do intel, to scope things out so they understand. And one thing is for everybody to experience this. We connect to each other. We don't all have to experience something for the collective to have this experience. So a lot of us have not wanted to be part of this particular idea. Carolyn. So there are quite a few that are switching to the light side to help the white hats at this time. Me, out of convenience. Carolyn, out of convenience. Not necessarily do they have the desire to help liberate humanity. Me. Again, when you're part of a team, it's very hard to switch sides, and many don't want to. It's easy to switch on the surface in this lifetime. You don't really go up a degree and see where you're coming from. You just think, oh, I made a lot of money with this. This is my way to retain the money. It's just to help them. Now, that's just a decision. They're not really switching to the light. It's not that simple. You have to make an intention. You have to have an intention, and then you have to heal your frequency. Because when you're part of the dark, you're imbued with with a certain type of frequency as well. And the soul, all these people, there is a reason why even to go to New Earth, they have to go and heal themselves for 100 years. It doesn't happen overnight. So basically what they're saying here, they're saying that we hear a lot about people switching from the dark to the light. They're saying this is not actually, they're switching teams. They're simply in this incarnation, trying to retain what they have, whether it's money, power, or their life, because a lot of people have done criminal acts, and so they're at risk of even losing their health, let's put it that way. And so because of that, they agree to help the light, but it doesn't mean they've switched sides. Okay, it is not their choice, they're being forced, and they might even be very, very repentant. It's possible some of these people might be, but generally speaking, it's a matter of convenience, basically. And it's not easy. While we have free choice and we can switch sides, it's not easy to just overnight heal your frequency so that all of a sudden you have the understanding of what you have done. And in fact, when they were talking about people, so in a previous video I explained, I'm just gonna very briefly summarize that here, but you might want to search the videos about New Earth, because this is explained in much more detail. Eventually on New Earth, there will be 7 million people, but up front, when we take this down, it's only going to be 3.5 million people going there directly. The rest of the people are going to go with a big chunk of the population to hang out with the aliens on other planets. And then they will be hanging out there for 100 years to heal themselves, raise their frequency before they're basically allowed to come to New Earth or have the ability to even go to New Earth. And 100 years will be like 25 years. So it's really not a long time. People who are going to hang out with the aliens, they will use technology on them and they will live for many hundreds of years, just like we will live hundreds of years on New Earth. Carolyn, that displays a timeline. So they say, I chose to be a reptilian in one lifetime. I may have to heal for me, multiple lifetimes. Carolyn, thank you for that. Me. That's why this is such a big deal that the reptilians are ascending as well. All they're doing is they're deciding as a team, say, hey, why don't we try something new? It doesn't mean that they're going to be light or they're going to be able to integrate their darkness that quickly or not feel guilty for the darkness. Just like us going to New Earth, we're not going to be all knowing within 3 seconds. We're going to know a lot, but we're going to have to spend a lot of time going inside and understanding what we have access to. That's the same thing that happens with the dark. They basically have to give themselves time to understand what happened, what they did, why they did it, and how it was serving the collective, basically the 25th, us in the 25th. This doesn't happen overnight. It will take us on New Earth. It will take us hundreds of years, thousands of years to get to where we will always be expanding, basically. Now, this is not to say we're going to know nothing when we get to New Earth. We're going to remember all kinds of things, but understanding is different. Understanding comes with time. That's why we'll have long periods of time spent in concentration. And I wouldn't know how to explain it better than this. Basically, they're saying that, well, you might know something intellectually. It doesn't mean you actually understand it. And so just like with us, we have to integrate our darkness and realize that we are everything. We have light and dark inside of us, whereas a lot of people in New Age spirituality like to think they're just creatures of the light, which is what, by the way, causes darkness to grow. The fact that some of us just want to ignore everything we do that's not of the light. Like, for example, even banking at a bank, you are supporting dark, just as simple as that. So we all do things like this because we're in this dark system, this dense reality. But because we want to believe that we are only creatures of the light, we isolate the darkness. And so we will have to do a lot of thinking on that to integrate all aspects of ourselves. And the dark will have to do the same. They'll have to basically get over their sense of guilt, and they will have to understand the greater role for what they've done, because these, and I know this will conflict with a lot of what we see and perceive as 3D reality, but basically, this is not bad, quote unquote. They've gone overboard many times. They made mistakes and introduced ideas that were way too dark because they didn't want to lose the polarity either, but they weren't able to forecast the consequences of some of the actions they put in place. So it was a failure on their end as well. This is why we have to take this down. It's been a failure all around. Carolyn, so it's said that in the early pieces of the Bible, which I know is history and story, or at least we believe it's history, Those beings lived somewhere between 500 and 700 years. Is that factual? Did those beings live that long? Because that was prior to Tartaria? Me, chuckling, they were chuckling. So the Bible was not prior to Tartaria. The Bible was part of a reset. So we're meant to believe that it happened a long time ago. It did not. Yes, absolutely. People lived longer than 700 years. There are people that live longer than that. Carolyn, amazing. Me. Now keep in mind, there are always traces left within the game. Even when you have a reset, it's not collective. Not everybody has to participate, which means you always leave traces for people to find. Nothing is ever lost. The truth is all out there for everybody to find. Carolyn, oh wow, that's even more interesting. How can we know if someone is truly sorry as opposed to being opportunistic? Me. The people that are on the light team, they might disagree on some of the forms that things take, the form that some things take, but they have this underlying theme of trying. They're being good. They're doing the best they can. They're striving. When somebody moves from the dark team to helping the light, or at least not doing any more darkness, they don't have the striving. It's very, very superficial. They don't have the understanding. They would have to start from scratch to understand. Now, think about how long it took you, who are a light being, to get to where you are right now. This is not a process that you can do here while embodied within a year or two. The energy is much faster now, of course, because again, the matrix is crumbling and therefore time, which is a construct, is falling apart. So you can accelerate time, of course. You can accelerate time for yourself, but it's not, you're still not going to be able to achieve in this reality something that might take a lifetime to achieve in a year, in 2 years, since COVID started. So that's how you know. Now, can you be repentant? Can you truly be sorry for what you did? Yes, but you will know. You will know by how they speak. You will know who's actually sorry and who is not. A lot of these people don't have to go through all of this. It's just an agreement they're making that they're going to stop working for the dark so that they don't get executed. They're aware, and if you spoke with them, if you knew them, you would know. Carolyn. So we will know, we will recognize a reptilian when we see one. Me. You will feel their energy. Their energy does not change. Just because they're not doing certain things, it doesn't mean they're not dark anymore. Carolyn. Claire's at the point that she suspects anyone who has any money or fame. Me, laughing. Yes, most people have had to compromise. Carolyn. Most of these people are compromised. Me. Have had to compromise and had to do some dark things. Absolutely. In different degrees. It doesn't mean everybody has done SATANIC things. But most people have had to deal with that. They've just butted up against it. Unfortunately, that's the world of money. That's how money is supposed to work. This is how it was set up. Carolyn, makes it tough for people who want to just make a day. Me. Oh, it really does. Survival is not truly, it's entertaining, or it was entertaining for a while. I mean, it's the opposite of who we are. We could have anything just by our thought. Imagine the idea that we have to work to make money, which doesn't exist, to buy food, which is freely available on this planet. Yes, I mean, it's really hilarious when you think about it. We do have a great sense of humor. That is a fact. Carolyn, you're hilarious, actually. I have to say, we laugh a lot. They have a good conversation, Carolyn and the 25th going. They're like laughing half of the time back and forth. But yeah, so basically, I'm gonna stop here because I think there was a lot in this video. It's basically, we have to let go of our not only perceptions of reality, which are based on, again, this belief in this game being real, but also perceptions to where we think the dark team, these are inferior beings and they're awful. And while they have done things that we judge as being awful here, and we really do, and we are correct in judging that, they also know that they are awful and they've gotten out of hand. So they're actually moving on and think about what they've done. So in a way, in the 25th, I said this to us before, in a way, they've hurt themselves more than they've hurt anybody else. And it will be the ones who will have the hardest time actually healing. So, well, I'm not saying that we have to, of course, we must have compassion for everybody because these are our teammates, and what they feel, we will feel, because in the 25th, we're all connected. And so, but I'm not saying we have to necessarily forgive some of the things that have happened in 3D. We also have to understand from a greater vantage point that, again, there were no winners here. Just because this has been a very dark reality doesn't mean that the dark team was actually having fun. And this is why we're taking this down, because nobody has been having fun for a very long time. And we can point fingers to whose fault this was, but the dark, well, the dark has done a lot of dark things that brought us to this point. The light has also been ineffectual in playing the game. So we've also caused some of the damage. But again, we learn, and we're not going to do this again. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this interesting. Please let me know in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care and bye-bye.